What's up, guys? I'm back with a brand new one. Today I'll be looking at solving complex equations using the K method. Okay, let's jump straight into it. We are given 2 times 1 over x, 2 times 1 over x squared plus 7 1 over x minus 4 equals to 0. Right, so as you can quite clearly see, this is a equation. However, the variables are fractions. Okay, so this is where the K method comes in. We're gonna say let K equals 1 over x. Okay, so now 1 over x will become K. So wherever we see 1 over x, we'll place K. So we're gonna say 2k squared plus 7k minus 4 equals 0. Okay, and you guys can quite clearly see now that this just looks like a normal trinomial, right? So this will be now easy. Okay, let's factorize it. Okay, what are our factors going to be? We're going to go 2k and k, and we're going to go minus 1 plus 4. Okay, so therefore k will equal a half, positive a half, or k will equal negative 4. Okay, so we have now two values for k, right? So what am I going to do now? Remember we said that k equals 1 over x. Okay, but now we found the value for k, so we know that k now is a half, right? So if k is a half, we can now substitute a half in the place of k, and this will now equal 1 over x. We can now see that we can cross multiply, right? You guys with me? So this will now be 1 times x, which is x, and 2 times 1, which is 2. So therefore, x equals 2. And then we can say, or remember there's two values now for k, right? K is also negative 4. And negative 4 will now equal 1 over x, right? Because remember k equals 1 over x, so therefore negative 4 will equal 1 over x, right? You guys can put this over 1, and then again we can cross multiply. So minus 4 times x will be minus 4x, and 1 times 1 will equal 1, right? Then we can divide both sides by negative 4. Okay, so we know that cancels, and therefore x will now give me negative a quarter. Okay, so, and that is all there is to it, guys. Now we can see that x equals 2, and x also equals negative a quarter. Okay, let's look at another one, guys. Okay, I don't want you guys to feel that that's all I'm going to leave you with. I know it is a bit complicated doing it for the first time. So let's look at another one, okay? So given 12 times 2 over x squared minus 5 2 over x equals 3, okay? And again, we're going to solve this equation using the K method, okay? So we go into the exact same routine. We're going to say let k equals 2 over x. Okay, so again, wherever we see 2 over x, we'll put the value k, right? So we're going to get 12k squared, okay, 12k squared minus 5k equals 3, right? So again, we can take that 3 over, so we can say 12k squared minus 5k minus 3 equals 0. Okay, and again we can see we sit with a trinomial, right? So a quadratic trinomial. So what we do is we open up our two brackets to factorize, right? And in this case we're gonna go with 4k and we're going to go with 3k. That's going to give us our 12k squared. Okay, and then we're going to go with 3 and 1. Okay, minus plus. Okay, so we know that's going to give us our 5k and our negative 3. Okay, so therefore we now know that k equals positive 3/4 or k equals negative 1/3. Okay, so again we have two values for k. Okay, so what happens now is we did say that k equals 2 over x, right? If we go all the way back, we can see that k equals 2 over x, right? That's what we stated in the beginning. So what are we going to do? We're going to say k now equals 3 over 4. So k has a value. K is now 3 over 4, and this equals 2 over x. Okay, you guys still with me? And now we're going to cross multiply again. So we're going to say 3 times x, and that's going to give you 3x. And we're going to say 4 times 2, and that's going to give us 8. Okay, then we're going to divide both sides by 3. You guys with me? So we know that therefore x now equals 8 over 3. Okay, but we're not done. We know that k had two values. Okay, apologies, I see I wrote here x early, and that should have been k. Okay, so we know that k equals, so we can say or, because we know k has two values. So if k equals 2 over x, we can now therefore say that k being negative 1/3 will now equal 2 over x, right? Again, we can cross multiply. So negative 1 times x will give me negative x, and 3 times 2 will give me 6. Okay, and we don't want x as a negative, so we can divide both sides by negative 1. So therefore x will now give me negative 6. Okay, so we have x as 8 over 3 and x as negative 6. Okay, let's have a look at one more. Okay, so if we say that 4 times 1 over x minus 1 squared minus 17 1 over x minus 1 minus 15 equals 0. Okay, this looks a bit more complicated. However, it is exactly the same process as we just undergone. Okay, so we're going to say again, let k equals 1 over x minus 1. Okay, so again, wherever we see 1 over x minus 1, we're going to put k. So let's get into it. So we're going to say 4k squared minus 17k minus 15 equals 0. Okay, and again, as we can see, we are now sitting with a trinomial, right? A quadratic trinomial. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open up two brackets again, equal to 0, and we're going to get our factors. So we're going to have k, and we're going to have 4k, and we know that's going to give us 4k squared. And then we're going to have 5 and 3, and we know that's going to give us our 15, and we're going to get our 17 from that. We're going to go minus 5 plus 3. Okay, so what does that leave me with? We now know that therefore k equals positive 5 or k equals negative 3/4, right? Okay, again guys, this is exactly the same as before. We are now going to say we know that therefore k does equal 1 over x minus 1, right? Okay, so therefore, what can we now deduce? We know that k is 5, right? So we can put 5 in the place of k. So we can say 5 equals 1 over x minus 1. And we can put this over 1. Again, we can cross multiply. Okay, so what does that leave me with? So that means I'm going to multiply 5 with x minus 1. So it's 5 with x minus 1. And 1 times 1 we know is 1. Then we're just going to go with distribution. So we're going to say 5 times x and 5 times minus 1. That's going to give you 5x minus 5, okay, equals 1. Then we can see here there's a normal linear equation. We can take the 5 over. So we know that 5x will equal 6, because 5 will become positive when we take it over, and 1 plus 5 is 6. Divide both sides by 5. And we now know that therefore x will give you 6 over 5, right? Very, very basic, guys. Okay, I know it looked complicated to begin with. However, it is quite easy. Okay, just follow the steps. Okay, that's all we do. Let's just follow the steps. So now we can say that, or we know that k has two values, right? K is also equal to negative 3/4, right? Okay, so we can say that therefore we know that k equals 1 over x minus 1. So we found the value for k, and the other value for k was negative 3 over 4, right? So let's put the other value for k in, negative 3 over 4, and we know this equals 1 over x minus 1. Okay, so we can see we can cross multiply again. Okay, so let's do the cross multiplication method. So what's that going to leave you with? We're going to have minus 3 times x minus 1 equals 4 times 1. Okay, again, we can do distribution. We can say minus 3 times x and minus 3 times minus 1. So that's going to give me a minus 3x plus 3 equals 4. Okay, we're going to take our 3 over again to that side. So what's that going to leave us with? Minus 3x equals, if we take the 3 over, it becomes a negative. So it will be 4 minus 3, which will give you 1. So therefore, if we divide both sides by negative 3, we know that x will now give you negative 1/3. Right? And that is all there is for today, guys. We can see x equals 6 over 5 and x equals negative 1/3. I hope this helped a lot, guys, especially for the up and coming exams. Until next time.